what can I say except you're welcome for that saber you got thanks to me. The force that'll guide your way, you're welcome. Hey, that's how it goes when you're a prodigy. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, come to think of it, Ray, honestly, I could go on and on. I could explain even dumb midichlorians. Guiding a missile as tricky as that. Nothing if you can bullseye, I want brat. Hound killed a tauntaun, I slept in its guts. Kissed my own sister, which was kinda nuts. What's the lesson? What is the takeaway? Do or do not, cause there was no try anyway. And the legend they tell of my life is an epic of heroes and strife. Me and the Force who make everything happen. Look at R2 and 3PO just tippity-tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and hey, 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 hey!
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom. It is May 25th. 40 years ago, one of the largest fandoms launched across the United States and promptly took over the world. You cannot think about this fandom without having its influences all over, whether it's movies, comics, video games, cartoons, TV shows. The list goes on and on. And I am joined by Ellie and Zenger from the Zeng This podcast to talk about the Star Wars 40th anniversary. How are you doing today, guys?
We're great.
I believe the Force is with us today.
It is. We are actually recording on May the 4th, which just seems to be perfect timing to record a Star Wars 40th anniversary podcast.
Exactly.
Oh, definitely.
I have to admit, my first memory of Star Wars, I was probably 9 or 10, and my friends had all these weird sci-fi toys. I didn't really understand them. I remember playing with a Millennium Falcon and breaking it, and this is back in the late 80s, so I'm not sure if this was original Star Wars toys or some the re-releases, but I hated Star Wars. I was not a Star Wars fan until probably high school.
Boo.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, boo.
So, what was your first memory? Were you in love with Star Wars from the start? Was it something where you just stumbled into Star Wars? Because my wife still has not seen Star Wars, except for Rogue One, because I made her go see it.
Oh, no. We've got to change that.
Ellie, you can go first on this one.
Okay. Well, I had an older brother, and so I remember watching it, and I just thought Princess Leia was so cool. Being a little girl, I thought she was amazing. And I do remember some of the toys my brother had. One of, the Millennium Falcon. I was just talking to Zenger a few minutes ago. He had one of the medical droids. I remember playing with it and taking out the little piece out of his mouth and putting it back in because it was movable. Mm-hmm. But I remember just not really understanding it that much when it first came out, and I loved the Ewoks, but I think that's just because I was a little kid and they looked like little teddy bears. They poked things, but they looked very cute and teddy bearish. So, right. But I think me as well. When I got a little bit older, I really enjoyed it and understood how great it was. But definitely, at first, I was more of I just thought it looked cool, but I didn't really understand what was going on.
Okay.
As for me, I remember watching it with my dad. I can't pinpoint the age or anything. I do remember when we got the VHS versions of it before the special editions came out.
Right.
I remember that, and I remember getting the special edition ones. My older brother, I know, is into it because he had one of the toy Millennium Falcons, and it was funny because it was in his room. We were not allowed to play with it unless we got his permission. And this is a weird one, but I remember this sticks out for me. We had it was a record that had it was sort of a book on tape sort of thing, but it was part of the Star Wars story, and you had a little book you're supposed to follow along with. And I had this really weird plastic record player that my parents had in my room, so I could I could listen to the Star Wars things, and that sticks out for me.
That's really cool.
Like I said, I can't pinpoint down the exact moment I remember because it used to be we would watch it every few months, and I know I was excited to always watch it and everything, so I can't pinpoint it down, but I got a ton of the toys and everything like that, so I really, once the special editions and stuff came out, I remember diving into it really, really deep, so...
I remember my parents were friends with somebody that had owned a videotape store I'm talking probably way back, and they would make copies of the videotapes, and in our, like, underneath the big giant TV that we had, like, that huge tube TV.
Super heavy.
Super heavy. We had all of these tapes that had, like, homemade labels for what was on them. And I know that Star Wars was on them, and I had watched it, but it didn't connect or resonate with me until right around, like, middle school, high school age, and that's when I really got into it. But that was at the same time that I got into, like, Star Trek and all of these, like, great, like, Lord of the Rings. All of it happened all at the same time. Like, I just exploded into the world of nerd.
It's a good world to explore.
I think that's the only way to. I think that's the only way to get into the world of nerd, is to explode into it.
Exactly.
Now, one of my favorite questions whenever I'm talking about fandoms on the podcast is, who's your favorite character? And in the Star Wars universe, that could be almost anybody, because a lot of them just have their own characteristics or things that you like about them, or maybe they had their own books in the Legends series or new canon. So who's your favorite? Like, if you've got to pick one, or if you need to pick two, that's okay.
Well, I'm gonna go with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean,
classic.
I always liked him. He was kind of the first way you're ever introduced to the Jedi and everything like that. And I thought the redeeming qualities of the prequels was his character and everything. So, I mean, I really like Obi-Wan Kenobi. And actually, the model lightsaber I do have is Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. So, I made sure that I got his when I picked up one. So, yeah, I guess for me it would be Ben Kenobi or Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Nice. Okay. Well, for me, there's so many, but I did pick one that I like from the movies and from Star Wars Clone Wars.
Okay.
I love Kit Fisto. I know it's really cheese.
It is not cheese. Not cheese at all.
Not.
He's awesome. He's a Jedi. Great
Smile.
role in do what?
Smile. He has a great smile.
No, don't take this is my character, okay? Give me time. But I love him in Clone Wars. He's really cool in Clone Wars. Has a lot of really good episodes he's in and scenes. And of course, Phil LaMarr. You can't beat him. He voices him in Clone Wars. So I can't say enough about him. And of course, his smile. Yes, he has an infectious Jedi smile. His sense of humor is fantastic. So he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, like that micro series that was going on.
Yes.
And he looked like he was just having so much fun destroying all those droids.
Yes. He's having a good old time. He's like, that's what I'm meant to do.
Exactly. For me, it was always a toss-up. Like, I loved Chewbacca. I loved Luke. I loved anyone that could fly, like, ships, because that's always the cool thing, is you always want to have the cool flying stuff. But I know for, like, on the flip side of, like, favorite character, I always love underrated characters, and I'm always one of those people that loves background characters, and forever in a day, it will always be background characters that I tend to gravitate towards. In Harry Potter, it's like Neville Longbottom, who was background for a long time. For Star Wars, and this was early on, way back with A New Hope, I loved Wedge Antilles.
Okay. Yeah.
He's one of the things that I got into. I mean, you see him in all three movies of the original trilogy, and then afterwards he gets, like, the X-Wing comic book series, the X-Wing book series. He's included in all of these other future expanded universe, now Legends books, and he just pops up continuously, and it's just, I loved his character development from being, hey, I'm the guy that survived 2 Death Stars, to, like, being a leader of a great X-Wing squadron, to general. Like, I loved Wedge Antilles.
That's awesome. Well, an underrated character that I think needs more, I know I keep talking about female characters, is Mon Mothma. She was the basically a leader of the Galactic Senate for the Loyalist faction. And she was basically the reason that the Rebel Alliance was founded. I mean, she got all that together and was responsible for getting the plans to Leia. So I think she is an amazing character that, just a lot of people forget what she did. They just don't think about it. They just remember that it happened, but they don't remember, like, how it happened. So she's very important.
Yep, and another person who gets fleshed out tremendously in a lot of the books.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of wanted to go with Wedge Antilles for a little bit. I was thinking that when I was going over this question. Then I kind of went to a weird one. I was like, well, maybe the Falcon, because I feel like the Falcon is actually a character within Star Wars.
Yes.
But then I was like, no, I don't want to stretch this this concept too much. So I went with Biggs Darklighter, who is Luke's friend in A New Hope. He's the one with the mustache that flies an X-Wing with the checkered helmet, who Luke's really excited to see and everything. He's like, Biggs, I finally got here. I'm here to join you and everything. And I just think that, Luke really wanted to join, the rebellion and everything to, fight the Empire, but he wanted to be with his friend. And I think that gets overlooked. So that's my vote for my underrated character. Plus, when I had one of the toys, my first X-Wing toy was actually Biggs.
Nice.
Biggs' X-Wing with him in it. And then I got Luke's after.
Awesome. I know Biggs has a real interesting background because, number one, they cut him out of A New Hope, like all his earlier scenes. Mm-hmm. And then there was this whole background story about how he had actually joined the Empire, and he defected along with a few other people. But Luke, I don't think, knew that until he kind of met up with Biggs later on and was like reunited with him, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I looked up some of that stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to the canon stuff in the movie for this one. But
that pesky canon. Okay. Everyone has their favorite Jedi. A lot of people will pick either like Luke, Anakin, Obi-Wan, or Yoda, because he's up there. But what the prequels did was add a wonderful cornucopia of Jedi to the mix. I mean, we had Plo Koon, we had Ki-Adi-Mundi, Mace Windu. Do you guys have a favorite? I know, Ellie, you mentioned Kit Fisto, so totally, throw him back in there if you want to.
Well, I like him a lot, but I also like Ayla Secura.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Great female Jedi, great role model. Once again, you can tell that I have a huge love of the Clone Wars because she's in that as well. She's just so well respected and just a lot of people looked up to her. So I definitely like her a lot.
Absolutely. Love that choice.
Yes.
For me, I actually did two choices because I decided to utilize the fact of Legends and canon for this.
Okay.
My Legends pick is Galen Merrick, a.k.a. Starkiller, a.k.a. Vader's apprentice from the Force Unleashed games.
Okay.
Mainly the first one. The
and
second
I love
one,
who he's modeled after.
Yeah, he's actually modeled after his voice actor, who looks directly like him. But yeah. I enjoyed the character. I liked his struggle. I liked the way they were trying to weave his story into the canon when it was canon. So I really enjoyed that character. Were his powers a little over the top? Yeah, but it was fun to play those games. Like, it was one of those things to where I finally got to feel like I was a Jedi, slicing through troopers and everything. So it was a lot of fun for me for that.
Yeah, that's the game where, you go back and you play Dark Forces or Jedi Knight, and that's really the game that you want to be playing is the one that you just mentioned. And now
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed, yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's what you always wanted in those original, like, first-person shooter type games, and now you actually got it.
Oh, man, I love those games. But my canon one, and this is interesting because I actually only noticed this for some reason when I was looking down at my notes, Ahsoka. So both of my picks were actually Vader apprentices.
I like Ahsoka.
And I like Ahsoka later in the Clone Wars, but I really enjoy her character in Rebels. even though she might not consider herself a Jedi, she still wields lightsabers and uses the Force, so I'm kind of counting her for the time being. I really like her as a Jedi that is not one that I was allowed to pick from the list. So, but yeah.
and remember the first time that you played, I think it was Unleashed 2?
Yeah.
Where did we play that at?
Oh, I did play that at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah. Yeah,
I did get to play that there.
That was when that game was coming out. That was the first time they were allowing playable demos for anybody.
And I waited in line and was super excited to play it.
Forever.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
that's awesome. Ahsoka's such a great choice,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, with her at least, I know that they had a book come out that focused all about her in canon.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! And I'm excited to see what happens with season 4 being the last season of Rebels, to see what they end up doing with her as a character, whether she gets killed off or if she gets to continue living somewhere as a hermit, or
Well,
I don't know.
Well, I know that Dave Filoni at the panel wore a shirt that said Ahsoka dead with a question mark, and then halfway through the panel he switched to said it's like Ahsoka alive with an exclamation point. I think it was something to where he switched shirts, and they haven't said what that meant though. So who knows? She could have found a way to become a Force ghost or something else. Well, I guess we'll find
those
out.
darn Force ghosts! I tell you.
So I'm excited to see what they do next with her.
It would be almost unreal to see her if like she showed up as some old version of herself in Last Jedi, just like hanging out.
Wow.
That would be ridiculous. Like that would, for like people that don't watch the shows, they'd be like, "Who's that person?" But then
Right.
just seeing her for like those people that have watched the shows and just being like, "I know who that is." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Also, I know
Pandering.
I know I'm kind of drawing it out, but I do like that she dual wields lightsabers and that her lightsabers actually have white blades in Rebels. I thought that was the coolest thing when that was revealed. So just something else to like about her.
Absolutely. And like even with Kit Fisto and his like tentacly dreadlock type hair.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
Like each of the Jedi that they created for the prequels all have this distinct look to them, and you're like, you can get a favorite just by looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, this has brought a lot of toys to the forefront. Is all the different aliens. Is there one that stands out that like you love? Like for me, I love Twi'leks because of the head tails and the variety of characters that you see, from like Jabba's Major Domo to Aayla Secura, and you just see you constantly see them. And
Right.
is there one that you guys just gravitate towards, or that you like, or do you just kind of lump them all in?
I have a couple actually.
No fair.
You had a couple for other things. Thank you very much. Mine are very kind of obscure, but I just thought they're so neat looking, and it's just that's what makes, kind of like what you said, it's kind of what makes Star Wars great. Is it's just so interesting of how much thought that's put behind making this world and this universe. But my first one is, I'm going to say these wrong, so everybody please help me.
I'll try to correct you.
Okay, thank you. I'll take correction. Ortolan, the like blue elephant looking alien that's in the band.
Okay.
The Max Rebo band.
Yes. He's so cute. He's just sitting there and he's playing his little piano type thing, and I don't know. He looks like he's having a great time and just chilling out. So I like him a lot. There's something about him. It's just the way he looks. He's adorable. And then oh gosh, I'm really going to be bad about this one. The Devaronian.
Devronian?
It's like, they look like kind of like a space
devil.
Satan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Maul.
No.
No. The
No.
one with two horns coming out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
My bad.
very like kind of cameo, just kind of in the corner. Don't see much of them, but definitely really, really cool looking. I just, being that I'm a big like supernatural fan, and I like the new show Lucifer and that kind of. I like the satanic type thing as far as the character. Sorry, I don't want it to sound weird. I like occult, supernaturally type shows, and he kind of just reminds me of that kind of stuff. So
right,
I like him a lot. He's pretty cool. So there's mine.
So I guess for mine, I was trying to decide what to go with, and I was gonna go with the Mandalorians, but I was like, no, that's I feel like because they're humanoid technically,
right.
So I was like, you know what, going along with the occult and the paranormal,
come to my side.
the paranormal, I'm gonna go with the Star Wars version of Bigfoot, Wookiees.
Oh, jeez.
I was thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? I really like Chewbacca, and I really like the Wookiees, because you really don't see them that much in the movies, which I kind of feel is sad. That, I mean, you get them in Revenge of the Sith, but you really don't get them aside from Chewbacca and anything else, so.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I kind of like the big fuzzballs.
Yeah, they Wookiees are one of those things that have been able to stand the test of time because everyone loves Chewbacca. They kind of like shoehorn them in on Revenge of the Sith just to hang out with them, and then hopefully we'll get to see more maybe with the Han Solo movie, or if they evolve the Han Solo movie into maybe a trilogy of Han Solo movies. I'd love to see more of them and see more of them out in the actual like galactic empire type situation. And I know, again, pulling from like the Legends material, because I'm not sure how much is canon or not canon at this point with Chewbacca's relationship, is that like Wookiees were enslaved by the Empire, and that's how Han Solo got the life debt from Chewbacca, is rescuing him like from being a slave and working on I don't remember the.
It was supposed
completely.
to be. It was when Han was actually. I can't remember what rank he was, but he was in the Imperial Navy and was ordered to basically have them executed, and he didn't want to do that, so instead he chose to save them, and that's how he was given a life debt from Chewbacca. If I remember correctly from my Legends canon, they did apparently still enslave them, but they haven't really talked too much about what all that entailed.
Exactly. And again, that's interesting to see, or what we will see in the future episodes, to see like what they kind of go with, and if they add stuff back in or leave stuff out, or just redefine certain aspects of what we know about characters. But yeah, Wookiees are that thing. I loved reading about how it's supposed to be Wookiees and not Ewoks, but then Wookiees were too technologically superior. They needed like Ewoks to be like the teddy bears with sticks.
Yeah, for in return.
I know, they're so cute. But they're mean little things.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, they are.
But I got a question, since we're talking about Wookiees and everything. Can everyone understand Chewbacca?
Oh, I was like, you're picking on me from like the last episode, aren't you?
No, well, I'm just saying, it's because everyone responds to him with like a statement or a question. What do you mean the hyperdrive's not working?
Well, here's what I go with, and it's based on like the role playing games that Star Wars has put out. Like, you can learn, like, your characters, when you initially make your character, you can have them understand the language, but obviously not speak it, because only Wookiees can speak it. But it's something where if a lot of people shouldn't be able to understand, and I think that at least with like the main characters and stuff, them knowing, like, I could totally see Obi-Wan knowing the language. Luke, not so much. Like, there should definitely be some disconnect on, like, it should totally be like the I Am Groot situation with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, with Rocket and Groot.
Yeah, most of the people should not be able to understand.
Right.
I just wanted to say that real quick.
That is okay.
I know. I said sometimes I just want subtitles.
Exactly. Like, subtitles would do so well for some of these characters that we get. I mean, Jabba had subtitles.
He did.
So we've had 7 movies plus Rogue One. Favorite movie?
Oh,
That's a hard one.
I'm gonna go with Empire for me is one of my favorites, and it just built off of what, because I mean technically it was the second one I saw because I was watching them in order when I was younger. I did not have the availability of the prequels or Rogue One, which Rogue One is definitely up there for me. I'll give it that, but Empire just, I don't know, it's just I've kind of respected it more as I gotten older too. The whole Vader in it is really good. Like he was, I feel like it makes his character even more evil in that one, because in the previous one he seemed to be on Tarkin's leash and wasn't really allowed to do anything he felt like doing. And in this one, he's offing people left and right. If someone fails him for the least amount, they get choked out. Like, it's great. It's one of those things. I love it when he
goes, apology accepted.
Well,
fantastic.
There's another part where they're in the asteroid field, and one of the ships gets hit by an asteroid, and like the commander that's holographed in with him, like you see him put his hands up, and then he disappears, like the ship got exploded. Does not bat an eye. Doesn't care. Yeah. It's just like whatever.
Moving on.
Exactly.
Also, I really enjoy this. The Captain Piet, where he starts off with saying, Captain Piet, you gotta get these ground troops, and then he ends with Admiral Piet. So he promoted him like in that moment, and I was like, oh. So just I guess I just like it because Venner is menacing in it, and it moves the story along so much more, and I really like the battle scenes in it on Hoth were really cool. Exactly. So that's my pick, followed closely by Rogue One.
Wow. Yeah, this one was hard for me. The original trilogy by far is, would be my pick from my favorites. Probably 5 and 6. I really would have a hard time choosing between those two. I just like both of them together I could easily sit down and just watch one into the other with no problem at all. It's just all that stuff when you're finding out about, that he definitely is his father, and he realizes that Leia's his sister, and just the whole just going to Cloud City, and I don't know, I love both of them tremendously. That's really where my love from Star Wars came from. And it's nothing against any of the other movies. I just feel like certain ones, like maybe Episode 7 and some other stuff, those are inspired by these movies. Like, you can see a lot of similarities from
Absolutely.
7 and the other one, and they're just classics, and I love everything about them. It's really hard. I could just sit here and just pick out moments, kind of like what we were talking about a few minutes ago when Zenger said Episode 5. I can just sit here and just keep thinking of scenes and everything, so just those would probably be my pick.
Absolutely. I know for me, it was always Empire. Empire always had those set pieces between Hoth and Dagobah and Cloud City, the asteroid scene, the ending. And I think there was a time where I had watched Empire, but I don't think we had the tape of Return of the Jedi for a while. And it was like, are you like, what do you mean I have to wait? Like, I don't have this one.
Aww.
And it, like, that was one of those things where you're waiting for it. And then later on in life, and I'm pretty sure one of the characters in the Kevin Smith movie talks about it, about like how Empire is his favorite because like it ends on such a down note. Like, you have like all these bad things happen. The rebels are they lost their base. Luke got his hand chopped off. Han's in carbonite,
yeah.
And it's just like, what next? Like, you end on like that little, them looking out on that galaxy. Leia's going off to go rescue Lando and Leia are going off to go rescue Han, and it's like, are you serious? Like, what could possibly happen now that's not happened already? Like, can it get any worse for them? Is it going to get better? And then, of course, you open with Return of the Jedi, and you have, like, the new Death Star being built, and you're like, yeah, it's gotten bad now.
Things have gotten serious.
But Rogue One is definitely up there, especially, I know I talked about it on my Rogue One podcast, where that first half is all, getting all the characters together, setting up their backgrounds, and giving you like that information. But like that last half of the movie on Scarif and the battle scenes like in space and down on the ground, it amazing. Like sets
Yes,
the bar
yes.
for like the next Star Wars movies. Like they have got to have that level of like just desperation, but also just one, like it just grabs you and it takes hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, now what was funny that as things were popping up on Facebook, you have like your on this day notifications, and you can go back and see what posts you made
Yes.
like within the past years of being on Facebook. And it cracked me up because I remember like I saw the post where it's like, oh, Disney bought Lucasfilm. I was like, and I think my post was like, okay, you know, they've handled Marvel really well. So at that point, and George Lucas really needed to have been taken away from Star Wars at a certain point. So maybe this will work. And then recently, the ones that were popping up was when they were making the announcements for Rogue One. I was like, oh, I hate this idea. I think it sounds stupid. If they're not going to have it be like Rogue Squadron, I don't care about this movie at all. And then I went to go see it and was blown away. But for that year that was in between me talking trash about Rogue One and then actually getting to go see the movie, it totally changed. But I was one of those people when Disney bought Lucasfilm and then they said everything that's ever been made about Star Wars, if it's not the movies, initially when they said that, was off into this Legends universe. I was not a happy camper. I was like, I've invested like 20 plus years of book reading and role playing and video games, and you're just ripping it away from me, you heartless Disney bastards.
Oh no.
So, but like I've come to grips with it. Like the one thing that I haven't done yet is start reading the new Star Wars novels. There's a bunch of them out now. I think I can fairly safely get into them at this point. But for a while, like I was shunning the books, I was shunning like anything, and then they added Clone Wars back into canon, and that made me happy because I had invested so much time in watching that show. And Rebels is something I have yet to watch, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to start binging it once it becomes available. What was it like when Disney bought Lucas or Star Wars for you two? Like, did you have the same reaction? Were you happy? Were you scared? I mean, what was the initial reactions that you guys had?
Okay, well, I'll go first on this one. I am ever the optimist, so
Sure.
pretty... I can be a smart aleck, but I'm still usually pretty positive. I love Disney. Speaking of fandoms, Disney is a huge deal for me. So when I heard that Disney was taking over Star Wars, I actually was very, very excited. I do understand the frustrations of a lot of people when they were, messing with canon and all that. But I guess me coming from a strong comic book background, you can always make it canon. So if you take it out of canon, it can always come back to canon. And it was kind of a way of Disney kind of flinging their thing around, going, we've got control now, and you got to just let them get over it and get it out of their system. But Disney, you have to think about it from a business standpoint. Disney is very influential. They have lots and lots of money and resources. And when you sit back and you think, I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time, and all I've really gotten, obviously except for the books and that kind of thing, but as far as theatrical releases, all I've gotten is, a handful of movies, and, dying to have the last trilogy finally be made, and maybe more extra movies here and there, and that's what they've delivered. And I was very excited with the hope that since, and it's kind of a bad thing to look at it this way, but being that Disney wants to make money, they wouldn't have bought the franchise if they weren't going to try to make money from it. So being that they bought it, I knew that there was going to be a very good chance that we were going to see a lot more on-screen time with the Star Wars stuff. So I was excited about it because what it meant to me was there's going to be more movies and more things out there, maybe more animated shows and that sort of thing. So I was extremely excited about it. Now, I was hoping, of course, that they weren't going to just crank this stuff out and it was just crap.
Right.
You know, I was hoping there was going to be quality put into it. But
yeah, we didn't need any direct to video like Return of Jafar 2 or Pocahontas 2. We don't need any of that stuff in Star Wars.
Well, exactly. But so that's what I was hoping, is we were going to get more, but it was going to be quality more. But like I said, as far as the canon and the legend and all that, you know, it is what it is. If they take something out of canon, like I said, they can always change their mind and bring it back. So I wasn't too stressed about that part of it. But yeah, I was excited. So I don't know. What about you, Zenger?
Well, I mean, you've kind of covered a lot of the bases that how I felt. I honestly cannot really remember my reaction the day I heard about it. I think my only response was, oh, good, Lucas doesn't have control of it anymore. I honestly think that was my only response. Like, it wasn't like a, oh, great, it's going to be Disneyfied, or oh, great, this. I just kind of just shrugged it off. The day that did affect me, though, was when they announced that all of the stuff was now Legends. That irritated me because they had already kind of nixed one thing I enjoyed, which I'm sure we'll be talking about very shortly. But time has been a friend to me on this, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what? It might be good for them to kind of wipe the slate clean and pick and choose what they want to have canon. Because no offense to any of the content that was created, if you read everything and tried to make, a Star Wars timeline, it gets murky at times.
Yeah. It
because it's, and once again, coming from a comic book fan, too, it's some of these characters in comic books. It's like, do they ever have a day where they're just not doing hero stuff? Like, it feels the same way for Star Wars, because, like, between the comics, the video games, the books, like some of these characters, it's like, when were they doing anything but something?
When did they get a day off?
Yeah, so it was cool that they're now obviously now right now looking back, they've taken some stuff from what is considered Legends and brought it back in to an extent. They're obviously, I'm not the biggest familiar person with the after the Return of the Jedi arcs in the books per se. Like, I'm not, but I know that, like, they had, Luke and Han and Leia had kids. Luke did too, I think. Anyways, but they had kids, and one of them did turn to the dark side, if I remember correctly. Correct. So obviously they are still taking stuff from the Legends. They're just adapting it to the best way they can. So that's kind of my thing. Is I trust what they're doing now. Am I a little upset that certain things aren't canon? Yeah, but at the same time, does it ruin them for me? No, because I can still kind of enjoy them in my own way.
Right.
Exactly. Like, it's not like you can't go back and read the stuff or have the fondness for the things. Like, my favorite
because it all took place in a parallel universe.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You can always change it.
Like, my favorite character is Jaina Solo, and I love her to pieces, and I will forever. And it's just one of those characters where I'm going to have to realize, like, there's not going to be anything new, and I'm not going to see her on the screen, but it is what it is. And, I still have my years of growing up with her and reading her adventures and everything along those lines. And now we have lots of new stuff to play with.
Yes. New toys.
Yay.
New toys. Literally and figuratively. Yes. What's your favorite non-movie Star Wars thing? Like, whether it's a cartoon or like the direct-to-movie, direct-to-video like Ewoks or video games, or if there's a certain
we both
book that
started
you love.
Smiling like ear to ear. That's hilarious.
Well,
what's yours?
Well, the cool thing is we are going to be discussing this on this month's Zeng This, the whole non-canon stuff.
Legends.
The Legends stuff. I kind of pulled both my things from Legends. I do like a lot of the stuff they're doing right now in canon, but I don't have anything that goes above and beyond what I have in Legends for love of certain things. The micro series Clone Wars.
Oh gosh, yes, he loves that.
I loved that. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I loved every minute of it. It was, and the best part was, like, I pretty sure you can watch the first like volume of it, and there's like maybe a paragraph worth of dialogue in the entire thing. There's not much talking because the action tells the story, and I loved it. I love Mace Windu in it. I love just everything about it.
I like Mace Windu in that better than the movies.
Yes.
Yes.
I liked him, fighting with. He didn't even have his lightsaber at times. He was just using the Force in his hands to tear apart droids. It was great. It stayed in continuity because they led from the volume 2 straight into the events of Revenge of the Sith. So I really enjoyed that. Grievous was great in it. I thought they did an amazing job with him.
Grievous was phenomenal in that.
And
phenomenal.
I just that's kind of where my love for that character came from. Like he's not in the movies that much. Everyone's like, why do you like Grievous a lot? And I'm like, because he was awesome in that.
Yeah.
Like he was like in that, and he just messed up Jedi. And thanks to Mace Windu, that's why he has that cough. And I don't know if they ever explain that in the new Clone Wars. They haven't explained.
I don't think they explained it anywhere. Like you just were like, what is this? What's going on with this guy?
I think the only thing is it was kind of hinted at that it was a failure by design in canon with him, that the thing keeping him alive was failing.
Right.
But I like the Legends explanation of Mace Windu just force crushed his chest.
Yes.
Which it makes more sense. It's cooler. It's better.
Yeah.
It's cool because there was a fight between them. But yeah, so that's that one, and of course, The Force Unleashed. I gotta mention that.
I knew you were gonna
I
say
love
that.
that game. I know that there's a ton of fans of the Old Republic games, but I'm sorry, Force Unleashed for me was just I just loved it.
And not to bring up Star Wars Celebrations again, but I can't help it. If anybody wants to check out, didn't you just change your profile picture?
Yes, and I think I actually sent a picture to David as well.
Yes. So they had so much cool stuff there, but they had a one of those things where you could put your face in there, and it was like the cover of the game. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy. Like, he got so many comments from the people taking the pictures and just other people standing around, like how good this picture was. It was really awesome.
Yeah.
It was the cover with two, and he sold two lightsabers. So.
I'll actually post that to our
really
Twitter
awesome.
and Instagram and everything, so
Yes.
people can see that. But yeah. So what's your favorite, Ellie?
Mine. Well, of course, I have to say Clone Wars.
Which
if we're
one,
talking
though?
about sorry, not yours.
Darn it.
I'm sorry. the five seasons, 6 seasons, 5 full
6 seasons, I
and
think.
six was like a shortened season.
6 seasons in a movie.
Okay, not
Because
that.
it did have a movie.
Well,
It did.
Yes, it did.
we're not talking about Community right now.
Just saying.
But just the whole relationship between Sky Guy and Snips was what? That's what they call
I'm
each
sorry,
other.
I
It's
forgot
cute.
for some reason that was their nicknames
Oh
for
yeah,
each
that's
other.
their nicknames. If somebody doesn't know, I'm sorry. I don't know, the relationship between the two of them, the pacing, just the way it was drawn. I just the art style was just gorgeous in this. I prefer the art style over this Clone Wars than the one that Zenger prefers, even though it is cool. Don't get me wrong. I just felt like there was obviously a lot of action, a lot of stuff, but it is so many episodes just got to me. They made me tear up. They were so emotional. I was very vested in the story. So definitely Clone Wars is just a huge love of mine, and I can't wait till our little ones get a little older. I'm gonna just shove it down their little throats. So you're gonna watch this and love it. I'm such a mean parent, but
I'm right there with you as far as making my kids watch it. Like, I don't know if I mentioned it when we recorded last, but I tried to have the kids watch A New Hope, and they quit on me.
oh,
Because there's not enough action, because they've seen Rebels a few times.
okay.
But
Wow.
yeah, when they get a little bit older, Clone Wars is right up their alley.
Oh yeah.
But I wanted to mention on Clone Wars is that the running joke or the running conversation that my friends and I have is Clone Wars makes you like Anakin, and it makes you connect to Anakin,
It
as
does.
opposed to in the movies where you don't even care.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is very true. Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the other joke that runs with Clone Wars is the movies that we actually wanted in a prequel series, not anything else that we got. Like Clone Wars and then Revenge of the Sith. That could have just been what we needed.
Yep, I agree. It was great. And then if I have to mention a second one, because I always feel like I have to throw a video game in there just because of my love of video games, but Knights of the Old Republic, the first one, I played a lot more than the second one, and I'm not talking about the MMO. But
you did play that too.
I have played that too, yes. But the 2003 release, and I played it on PC, so I didn't play it when they released it on was it the original Xbox and the PS2?
Original Xbox.
Yeah, I said original, but I said, was it PS2?
No, I'm almost positive it was Xbox only.
Oh,
Xbox
okay.
and
Was
PC
it
only.
Okay. Well, I played it on PC, and it was cool because you could be a guy or a girl. You could choose and customize, and the big baddie was Darth Malak, and it was so enriching and it was so big. I just remember it was really fun going to all the different worlds. You got some more Wookiee love in this game. You got to go to their planet and kind of have some missions and some stories with them. I get a little backstory with that. So I just, I really, really, really love this game a lot. So, and they have it on sale on Steam.
Yes, they do.
But that was, so I would think, Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Knights of the Old Republic, non-movie related, those would probably be my favorites.
Okay. For me, it was definitely both of the Clone Wars series, whether it's Genndy Tartakovsky, that makes you able to learn more about a character through his actions and actually seeing him express or herself express themselves. It made Grievous be this epic character that you were like just shocked about how ruthless this character was. I remember, I think when Grievous went up against like the 4 or 5 Jedi and ended with like him walking away with their lightsabers, it was like, damn.
Exactly.
Oh snap.
And then with the Clone Wars, the 5.5 seasons or 6 seasons, whatever you want to call it, you got to learn and connect with the clone troopers. You got to connect with Anakin on a whole completely new level. Yeah. Obi-Wan got a backstory, and you got to learn more about him and his relationships between him and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Yoda. And just really, you got to just learn so much about these characters and follow them around. And they pulled characters into like Rogue One, like Saw Gerrera was actually in Clone Wars, and so he got to be moved up to that. Like, and then they were talking about how Rex is in Return of the Jedi. Like they kind of fit him in there somewhere.
I love Rex in Clone Wars. He's awesome.
And in Rebels.
Yes.
And in Rebels, yes.
Yes.
With Disney running the show, and I think we're nearing the end here. With Disney running the show, they have said that their goal is to have a Star Wars movie every year for, I don't know what their timeline is, but for the foreseeable future. Force Awakens, Rogue One, we have Last Jedi coming out this year. Next year's the Han Solo movie. What else would you want besides them doing obviously Episode 9? But what if you were wanting movies, what would you want to see them come up with? Like, would you want to see like a Tarkin movie, a Vader movie? Like, what's your ideal situation on these every year is a movie type thing going on?
Well, I would like something kind of like piggybacking off of Forces of Destiny. So they're doing these little shorts of, a lot of the famous female characters of Star Wars. So I would love to see a Leia movie. She's amazing. She's such a strong character. And I think that, if if the Han Solo movie does really well, I think Leia is just as an influential character as Han Solo. So I don't see why, if you're going to do a strong female movie, a solo movie like that, I think Leia could be very well done as well.
I'd love to see her in the Senate in her like younger years to see how formidable she is, or even in between like 6 to 7, they had a few books about her already, about like how it was a galactic scandal that her dad was Darth Vader and how she had to handle that. And I haven't read the book, but I've heard it's good.
Bloodlines, if I remember correctly. It's covered in Bloodlines, and Downfall, I think, has a little bit of it too.
Oh, okay.
For the movies. I guess my turn?
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited for what they did with Rogue One. I would love to, and I'm probably repeating myself, by the way. If you listen to our podcast on the Star Wars theory, I'm about to get very repetitive, because me and Chet discussed this on that, and I would love to see more of like the battle scenes possibly play out. Like the Battle of Jakku, I think would be epic, considering it was one of the last stands of the Empire. Not one of them. It was the last stand of the Empire, and it was an epic battle where the sky was basically filled with Star Destroyers and Republic capital ships and a Super Star Destroyer that they were trying to take down, and just a ton of battle scenes. Hopefully with the Battlefront 2, we're supposed to be getting some at least in-game pictures of this, which that's something I always loved, was the starship battle. So I think that might be able to top Rogue One, but I would like to see more kind of anthology stuff. Like, it would be interesting to see some stuff between the movies, or just more stuff that was going on maybe behind the scenes. I never thought Rogue One, if you told me, oh, they're going to tell a story about how they got the plans, I never would have imagined the movie we got.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's going to be some spy movie where they're like sneaking around. I didn't think it was going to turn into some giant battle where it also was, testing out the Death Star and all this other stuff. So phenomenal job on that. Like I said, I'd love to see more stuff in that vein, but there is an idea I have. So if any Disney execs are listening, please get in touch with me, because I know how to do the Boba Fett movie.
Oh, jeez.
And what I would love to do is, if you've seen the movie Dread, I'm just using it as a template. That movie had zero character development, basically, for the main character. I don't want character development from Boba Fett. I would love to see him stuck on a starship or stuck somewhere.
You just want to see him BA.
Yes. I just want to see him. He gets a bounty. He gets his bounty, but he has to take this person alive, or this creature alive, or whatever. And he has to basically fight off other bounty hunters, protect them from, people who are trying to kill him, do all this stuff. And you think that they're bonding the whole time, because, he's protecting this guy, the guy's, telling him about his family and everything. And you think Boba Fett's growing as a character, and he gets off, the ship, or gets away from wherever they're at on his own ship with this guy. He's still going to go turn him in for the bounty. But then he gets an update on like whatever device he has to get updates on bounties, and it says that the bounty can be taken dead or alive for the same price. He just turns around and shoots the guy square in the face, and still takes the bounty, because you think through the whole movie, Boba Fett's growing as a character. He's emotionally connecting with this person, like he might not turn him in or something, and then in the end, it's nope, just was doing all of it so he could get his money, so he could get paid. I think that would be an amazing movie, because personally, I think Boba Fett's is more interesting the less I know about him.
Right.
Like, the fact that he's a clone of Jango Fett and all this stuff, whatever. I don't want to know anymore. I find him more interesting. Like, did he have a family? Did he, what was his hobbies? What was this? What was that? I don't care. I just want to see him being a bounty hunter, and that's it. No more development besides that, because otherwise it just becomes less interesting to me. And I would also love to see an Obi-Wan movie that takes place in between the two. And like I said, McGregor, perfect timing for it. I'm sure he would love to do it. I am positive he's wandering around his house right now in Jedi robes, practicing for the scenes he's going to have to do in this movie. So that's where I want to see this go. The Han Solo movie looks cool, but once again, these anthology movies, you can pick and choose. I mean, if you want to see them, you can. If you don't, you don't. They kind of evolve. They spread out the universe, I think. They make the universe feel more lived in. already is, and they've already done a phenomenal job of world building, so them building on that would just be more amazing.
Absolutely. I know when I was at Star Wars Celebration here in Orlando, that was the big thing that people were waiting on every day. They were like, when's Ewan McGregor going to show up? When is the announcement going to happen that the next movie is going to be an Obi-Wan movie? That was almost the consistent talk beyond the Rebels announcement of season 4 being the last season and the Last Jedi movie trailer dropping was, where's Ewan McGregor and when's our announcement for an Obi-Wan movie?
Not surprising.
Not in the slightest, but it would be, I mean, like you said, it'd be perfect timing. Like, the stars are aligned for this. Make it happen.
Yes, make it happen.
A lot of fandoms have been around. I mean, we're 20 years of Harry Potter this year. Star Trek hit its 40th anniversary either last year or earlier this year. But Star Wars, again, we're in talking about a movie franchise that has affected the globe of not just other movies or books or video games, or how merchandise is even marketed to kids, because they did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Even socio-political stuff, like people register as Jedi for religions across the not across this nation, but across other nations. They register as Jedi. I think
New Zealand's the biggest one for it.
Yes, I think New Zealand, and then even I think England might be up there with people registering as Jedi. And there was a thing where there's like, please don't do that anymore. From your point of view, what's the impact that Star Wars has had on the globe in like this 40 years? Like, just off the top of your head, I mean, what can you just pull out and be like, look at this impact?
I know this is something that I'd love for us to talk about at some point in our Star Wars celebration that we're doing throughout the year. But stuff like the Robot Chicken Star Wars special, the Family Guy Star Wars special,
I love that one.
Spaceballs, like these, like everything kind of played off of Star Wars for the longest time afterwards, and still does. It has set such a precedent, and it's, I don't know, I can't remember if when we discussed this, but I think one of our like we get topic ideas, and one of them is, will there ever be another Star Wars movie? Like, will there ever be something as impactful as Star Wars? Like, not like that will have the same impact. And Harry Potter comes close. Harry Potter comes very
Harry
close.
Potter. Yeah.
But I don't think you're gonna have something as universally loved as Star Wars ever happen again, because it's continuing to expand. And it's something that, I mean, it does make my eye twitch slightly when someone says they've never seen Star Wars or they don't like it, but I don't feel the urge anymore to be like, okay, you need to come with me. Here's these movies, sit here, I'll be back in a few hours. Because it's to each their own. I mean, that's the thing. It's such an impactful series, though, and it's one of those things, even though those people haven't seen it, they know the impact of it.
Right.
So that's something that it is a worldwide phenomenon, and I'd love to see it continue to grow. And I don't think it has any. I mean, it's teaching, very positive influences and everything.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I think from a female standpoint, it's really what got me into loving sci-fi and that sort of thing. So I think it's done wonders for bringing the female side of it and making, when you have such strong female characters, when you go to conventions, and how many times do you see Princess Leia? Cosplaying Princess Leia. So well, now
Jen Erso too.
Well,
and
yeah,
Rey. Right.
I'm just saying, before the newer movies came out, it's just, it was so influential for just girls to it's just exciting to finally see, because when I was younger, it still was not a very common thing for females to be out and and proud of their geekness and love of this type of stuff. So I think it's been great. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff now, even for females. I can't remember what the company's called, but they do a whole big
Her Universe.
Her Universe, that's what it is. Thank you. And they make, jewelry and clothing line just for Star Wars, and then of course they do other stuff as well. But so it's exciting for the female side of it, to just how much it's influenced girls and women to come out and feel proud and happy to love this kind of stuff too. So it's awesome.
One of the things that I talked about with some of my other anniversary episodes, specifically like Buffy the Vampire Slayer hit 20 years this year, was what's the future of the fandom? And this is almost a question that's almost non-existent for Star Wars. There's no question about where this fandom is going. There's movies for who knows how long. There are the new micro shorts that they're going to do with the female characters and having them, and then they're going to expand those into like little movies or TV movies or whatnot. And there's got to be a new cartoon show, hopefully in the works at some point. The books are continuing. The video games are continuing, like Battlefront 2. Not only is a video game, but they're tying in Inferno Squadron into a whole book series. Mm-hmm. So, like, as opposed to some of these fandoms that have been out of the eye for a long time, like Star Wars, there's no stopping Star Wars at this point.
No, and it's a family thing. Like, I know with a lot of fandoms and stuff, the individual loves it and they may have a huge passion for it, but it seems like with Star Wars especially, it's a, the one person loves it and then they pass it down to their kids and then they pass it down to their kids. It's such a love and a passion of a good, fond memories that, I remember I used to love watching Star Wars with my mom and dad, and, so it kind of passes down generation to generation. So I think that's really cool too. Absolutely.
Well, guys, go ahead, tell people where they can find you if they haven't listened to your episode, which came out at the beginning of this month, which you guys can check out and listen to Zenger and Ellie talk about DC and Marvel movies and Mass Effect and their podcast, which is currently you guys released on May the 4th, Be With You Day, which we're recording today. You had a special theory episode come out, and you're doing your Star Wars review episodes that you're really kicking butt with.
Yeah, May is the legends stuff. So stuff that's not in canon anymore as of right now. So that one's going to be fun, and you might hear a familiar voice on that one. Possibly. So what's your podcast? What's it about? Where can people find you on the internets? Well, our podcast is, of course, Zeng This, and it's me and Ellie and guests every now and then discussing different nerdy topics or pop culture topics too. We discuss anything from movies to video games to comic books, and we even have a read this thing we're doing / watch this, to where we'll give a recommendation of something to check out, and then we'll kind of talk about and discuss it. And we have also decided that we are going to devote this year to Star Wars, where every month we have an extra episode devoted to one of the movies or part of the canonicity too. So that's
the canonicity.
Yeah,
I just thought of that word.
Yeah, I haven't made up a word in a while on the podcast, so I figured I'd jump on someone else's to do it. But yeah, we're definitely going to continue that trend into next year with another movie series. We haven't decided what yet, so stay tuned. But the best ways to find us are on
SoundCloud,
Zeng This,
Stitcher,
and Google Play and Tuned In. You can also find us, of course, on
iTunes.
And if you want to become a fan of us on Facebook, you can go to
Zeng This.
If you want to find us on Twitter, you can always go to
@Zeng This.
And if you want to see some cool pictures from stuff that we do, you can always go to Instagram
@Zeng This Podcast.
And if you want to find us playing some video games every now and then, we're on Twitch TV. Twitch.tv/Zeng This. If you want to contribute to our podcast, you can go to patreon.com/
Zeng This.
And you can always find us on YouTube as well. We're going to be putting out some new exclusive YouTube content of us maybe playing Magic or some other tabletop games.
Some nerdiness.
Yes, and just search Zeng This. If we can get to 100 followers on there, we can actually just be youtube.com/Zeng This. So help us out with that.
Yes, please.
And if you want to email us, you can, of course, go to
zengthis@gmail.com.
Now, DJ Golden Boy. Oh, sorry, this isn't our podcast. I'm so used to that.
Yay!
No DJ Golden Boy, but Ellie and Zenger, thank you so much for coming on for this episode. And I have to just say, may the force be with you.
And may the force be with you.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a special thanks to youtube.com/overenglishman, who is the one responsible for the opener for today. And please take a listen to the full song right after this. Thanks, and may the force be with you.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What? No, I didn't. What?
Okay.
I feel what's happening here. You're face to face with greatness and it's strange. You don't even know how you feel. It's adorable. What's nice to see, Padawans never change. Trust in the Force, let's begin. Yes, it's really me, Skywalker, breathe it in. I know it's a lot, the hand, the sight, when you're staring at a Jedi Knight. So what can I say except you're welcome for that Death Star I blew from the sky. Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. I'm just an ordinary Jedi. Hey, what has two thumbs and stopped the dark side? When you were waddling yay high, this guy. When Solo froze cold, who stopped the Rancor down below? You're looking at him, yo? Oh, also I met Obi-Wan Kenobi. Plus turns out I'm Darth Vader's son. Brought the Empire to its knees. You're welcome, just don't mention the Ewoks, please. So what can I say except you're welcome for that saber you got thanks to me. The Force it'll guide your way, you're welcome. Hey, that's how it goes when you're a prodigy. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, come to think of it, Ray, honestly, I could go on and on. I could explain even dumb midichlorians. Guiding a missile as tricky as that. Nothing if you can bullseye, I want brat. Hound killed a tauntaun, I slept in its guts. Kissed my own sister, which was kinda nuts. What's the lesson? What is the takeaway? Do or do not, cause there is no try anyway. And the legend they tell of my life is an epic of heroes and strife. Me and the Force who make everything happen. Look at R2 and 3PO just tippity-tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and hey! Well, anyway, let me say you're welcome for the galaxy you've come to know. Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. Well, come to think of it, I gotta go. Hey, it's a day to say you're welcome. Just train on this island alone. Chewie jump to hyperspace, you're welcome. Come on, let's blow this thing and go home. You're welcome.
Cause it's time for the Jedi to end.